Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Resource Gatherer. I'm your host, Justin. With me is your co-host, Cody. Today, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to our hearts, something that's come out recently. It's Magic the Gathering set revolved around Fallout video games. So these are two topics that we both enjoy, Magic and Fallout. So we decided to talk about it on this week's episode of the Resource Gatherer. So, Cody, describe to me your very first moments playing Fallout and what joy that brought to you.
Oh, I love Fallout. I mean, you essentially get to create a character of your play style. You know, if you want to be a shooter or a physical melee person or a person that likes using traps, you know, similar to how like Skyrim is built, but in the aspect of it has guns as opposed to just swords.
Yeah.
You know, so I enjoy that aspect of it. I think it's a lot of fun. The storyline is great, you know, like, because you're in this apocalyptic world, you know, bottle caps is your form of currency. Like, you know, you're using a mini nuke on a slingshot, like for like, you know, an OP weapon. Like, it's a lot of fun. So I feel like bringing that into the Magic the Gathering world is a little weird just because we're doing the same thing. We're going from like Skyrim level of like dragons and warriors and stuff to futuristic stuff with guns and other things like that.
Well,
a little weird, but it works because especially when you start getting into like Dr. Madison Lee card, using artifacts as energy, which that makes sense. You know, thematically that still works because you're using artifacts as your power sources or different things like that. Same as Urza. You're following the same general guidelines.
I just asked you what your first experience with Fallout was.
I know. I just kind of go down the rabbit hole.
You went down the rabbit hole hard. So I'll start off by saying, so all those things are true, Cody. We're going to dive into this more. So my thoughts. So my very first experience playing Fallout was in high school. I got Fallout 3. I had a very similar experience to you. Skyrim was really popular back then. Well, no, it was Oblivion was popular then because that's when it came out. So I was playing Oblivion. I was playing Fallout 3. I loved both. I was also just started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and so the mechanics, all three kind of lined up. Mm-hmm. You got to build your characters. I am always when it came to building both. Well, I guess my builds were different. When it came to Skyrim, I was a battle mage. I wanted to cast fire at somebody in the face, and I wanted to slash him with a sword. When it came to playing Fallout, I like to shoot people.
Yep.
Because I really liked the VAT system.
Yep.
The VAT system, their auto targeting system was amazing. Mm-hmm. I was like, yep. Oh,
headshot.
Pew 80%. Pew pew pew. Yeah. I'm gonna shoot things. I wanted to get really good at that. I also like the idea of being fast, so I always was trying to do quick draw stuff. Mm-hmm. But that was kind of my first experience falling in love with Fallout 3. Eventually playing Fallout 4. That's whenever it came out when I was in the Army.
Yep. Got in the Air Force.
Yep. I was really, really excited. I was deployed and I bought it. And so I bought this PlayStation, like a little portable TV. And like it was like a little like screen. Mm-hmm. And I like plugged it in and I played it while I was like at the airport, like flying back to the States after my deployment as like my deployment gift to myself. And I was like, yep, this is it now. And I got really, really, really happy with that time frame of playing it. So
yeah, and I enjoyed the aspects of Fallout 4 for like you can build like, you know, your own fort, essentially. You gotta make your people happy. You know, like I remember getting that challenge of like 100% happiness, you know, because you had to have like so much purified water, so much energy, you know, different things like that to make all your villagers happy, you know, and then you make the stupid mistake of, what was the dude's name? He was one of the Minutemen, the lead Minuteman.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. He has the weird hat.
Yeah. And if you shoot him,
he
doesn't die. And then he just repeatedly tries to attack you for the rest of the game.
Yes.
And don't do that.
So I agree. I don't know. I really enjoyed Fallout. I really thought that Fallout made sense. My problem, and this kind of goes back to, I do think that from a Magic standpoint, Fallout, they were able to make mechanics work, bring back mechanics that sort of weren't being utilized before. Like you said, like energy. We talked about this on a previous episode. I was actually really excited to see energy, and then I found out that it was Jeskai. which is red, blue, and white as a color scheme for that. And then I wasn't happy. So for anyone who doesn't know, in Magic, there's 5 basic colors. One of them articulating towards a various color pie. I think we've talked about it on a previous episode about the fundamentals of Magic. You guys can check out that episode to basically get a bigger deep dive into Magic. But essentially, this mechanic is a mechanic that utilized like burning through resources and stuff. My problem with it being Jeskai is a lot of the energy cards felt like they were leaned more towards a teamer color scheme. Because like green, blue, and red, I think had like a lot of energy stuff in the original like playthrough, and for like the old school sets when it first came out. So the fact that we didn't get like a green card
with energy,
I was a little bummed about.
Yeah. But green already does everything, so
well, they gave it to Mothman. they gave us Sultai Mothman,
which is going to be so good.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of playthroughs. There's like big streamers who are playing this already, and they've play tested the decks out live or like on camera and stuff. And so watching the decks actually play out, it seemed like the Moth deck seemed pretty powerful. Like in both playthroughs, very different games. That deck still held its own to be the final 2 in both games, meaning like still really crazy.
Mill is hard to win in Commander, but Mill's biggest downfall is it's typically in Dimir, which is black and blue, green giving you that ramp. Now you have that ramp to get those more powerful spells out faster and being able to have that recursion through Sultai. Because like now you can throw like the Haymakers like Muldrotha in there. Or different things, or even like the Gitrog monster.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it was really cool, too. Like, I do think, like, thematically they all made sense. Like, having Dogmeat, who is, like, my bestest boy in Fallout 4. The fact that all of these were in Fallout 4, too, was kind of funny. Like, all 4 of the face cards appear in either Fallout 3 or Fallout 4. The majority of them were like primary pieces in Fallout 4, with the Doctor being the one that was in Fallout 3 predominantly, and then making an appearance in Fallout 4. But regardless, Dogmeat being an Aura's deck was great. I also really like the idea that they gave us a new mechanic with the Junk edition, where you can do basically like Impulse Draw as an artifact. So they gave us Impulse Draw in a like treasure format, which is super sick, but they did give it to us at sorcery speed, which was a little less happy.
Yeah, just because like there's so much like artifact like between clues and treasure and gold and like other artifact tokens like that, I feel like they're trying to like tone back on it, because like we've talked about this before, maybe not on camera but privately, of how like artifact themed decks are literally the like most powerful by a landslide. Like, oh, what's your theme? Oh, it's artifact themes. Cool. You're gonna get smoked. Like that. Like you are gonna run the table 9 times out of 10 if you build like a mono artifact deck, because they are so universally utilized.
Yeah, but the thing is that because of, I don't know, and this is kind of like how I justify it too, right? Like, the thing is you could say, yes, artifacts in general are really strong, but now that they've created a bunch of different artifact mechanics, there's clues, there's food, there's treasures, like those 3 mechanics are completely separate. I would say in power scale, like if you were to build a deck, not saying that the other 2 decks can't keep up or whatever, but like if I'm going for like raw power, treasures is obviously like the most optimal. One. Yeah. Then
ramp. It's the best ramp.
Yeah. Then after that, I would have given it to food, but with the addition of the new Clue Edition cards that just came out.
Yep.
I actually have to give the edge to Clues.
Yep.
Because between Markov's Manor from last set and these new Clue cards, Clues just got real good. Like my Lonus deck I just bought a bunch. I'm trying to buy a bunch of cards for it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, all these cards, check. Oh, you're in Simic? Thank you. Yep. More Simic value for me, please, good sir. Versus like my food deck is, it's Merry and Pippin from the Lord of the Rings set. And the strategy is I'm going to play a food, I'm going to make a dude, and then I'm going to eventually beat you to death with my little halflings.
And gain a buttload of life in the meantime.
I usually don't use it for the life gain.
But you can, though.
But you can, which is why it is nice. I almost want to give the life gain an edge over the clues, But drawing cards is just so much stronger.
So much better.
Yeah.
Anytime that it's a card that gives you the ability to draw a card, there is no like competing with that.
I will say though, watching the playthrough that I watched today, so one of the cards that's inside of the energy deck that's actually kind of a unique piece is it actually kind of taxes people who want to do attacking and also have treasures or other effects, because. Yeah, you hungry, Big Arrow? I'll just keep going. All right. So my thing with the treasure versus the like other effects or whatever, essentially, like with this new set, there's a card that they've just dropped that basically taxes you for having artifacts. So for each artifact you control, you have to pay 1 in order to do that.
Which is such a great counterbalance to like seeing somebody with 75 treasure tokens out there because they flashed Dockside 3 times.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, you either have to use it now and you win the game and we stop playing this whole game, or chances are you can't utilize all 75 of your treasures anyways, and so you're just going to end up having to sack them on your turn. Which is fine because then at least we can play the game again.
Yeah.
Like
it's not like you could either instantly win or you get mad value and then you're back down to our level.
Yeah.
And now you're just perceived as the threat and you go to 3-on-1 essentially.
My only problem with it though is it only stops combat. And oftentimes the people who play decks that utilize those strategies of like having a bunch of treasures or whatever aren't looking to win through combat. They're looking to win through like
infinite combos
or like some like Torment of Hellfire, like Exsanguinate thing.
Man, I do that one time.
It's not just you though. Like look at like black, for example. If you're playing just mono black, there aren't a lot of great options to just straight up win you the game unless you're playing Aristocrats.
Or Exquisite Blood, Sanguine Bond.
Yeah. If you're not going life gain strategies, if you're just playing mono black, what's your win cons?
Yeah.
Your win cons, unfortunately, if you don't
drain effects.
Are drain effects like Torment, Exsanguinate, or you go like the opposite route and you go Reanimator style, and then you just like pull everything back from the graveyard with like a Rise Against the Dark Realms or like something other like But essentially, yeah, like your creature heavy meta, right? So like.
And most creature heavy metas are not at the higher level competitive
style
decks. So, like we like building creature style decks because we find it fun because it brings that old school mechanic back. Like that's what Magic was founded on, was like, cool, I'm going to build this cool creature deck of elves or dragons or whatever and have a few supporting spells in the wing.
Yeah, see, my strategy when it comes to deck building is I like to build a theme.
Yep.
And I'm going to just exclusively try to build around that theme. And then I'm going to like incorporate other elements like a win con, a card draw, removal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because you have to have that in every game of Magic, right?
Otherwise, you're going to sit there doing nothing and get stomped on.
So I don't know how much of the decks you actually saw, but like based off of the 4 commanders, which one were you most excited about?
Oh, Mothman, because I love Mill.
Yeah.
Mill is 100% like one of my favorite things. Because,
even though it sucks in Commander.
I mean, I've definitely won with my Mill deck a handful of times because I built a good Mill deck.
I mean, you saw my Turbo Mill deck that I used to win.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing about Mill, if you want to win consistently, the way you build it is you don't mill other people, you just mill yourself. So my Phoenix deck was built to like I could play it either way. I could either play it like if I mill out the group, it's a much slower game, much fairer game, and we can play it more of a casual level. But if we're playing higher tier, okay, I can play the exact same deck, and I'm going to mill myself out, and then I'm going to Thassa's into a win, which isn't a fun way to win, but it is a way to win.
Exactly.
And that's, I don't know, but so you like the mill strategy. I do think that it's a unique take on mill because it's the rad counters. So you're going to do, you're milling until you hit whenever you mill, you'll hit either land or non-land card. It's 1, it's equal to the amount of rad counters. So you get like a max, maybe like 10 or whatever. And then it's 1 damage for each removed. So lands, you don't take any damage, and then if it's a card that is a non-land, then you're going to take 1 point of damage and remove a rad counter. So it's kind of like Infect, but fair.
Yeah, Infect. Great, terrible mechanic.
My thing is so with rad, it's the only thing I don't know is if you get 10 rad, do you automatically die?
I mean, in Fallout, you die.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Fill out with too much rad. So
that's what I'm curious. If you hit 10, do you die?
Well, I mean, it gets released here shortly, so
that's true.
We'll find out.
So I think for me, my favorite is the Caesar deck. It's the creature Mardu deck. Even though, like I said, I really like the idea of playing energies.
And you're not a Mardu player.
I'm not, which is why I was really surprised. But the thing about it that looked really cool is Caesar's ability is you're sacking creatures, so you're sacking tokens, and then you're getting an effect to either draw a card, like you basically get value. You either make dudes, draw a card, or something else happens. Mm-hmm. And it's like that is what the definition of Mardu should be. Mardu's like I don't know. I guess my biggest downfall with Mardu in the past is you get stuff like knights in Mardu, like
knights, dragons, demons.
You're like, okay, listen, like great. Awesome. Like, yeah, because like Kalia and Knights are probably the two like biggest Mardu decks that I'm thinking of right now. Besides the legendary one that dropped recently. But like in Commander's Legends or whatever.
Yeah.
But, so like because of that strategy, like Mardu wasn't really that interesting because it was only combat focused. It was like, okay, I'm either gonna like beat you to death with a dragon or an angel or whatever, or I'm gonna like try to get you with Marchesa.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to use Marchesa's ability and it's going to be like some weird
with
like
dethrone mechanic.
Yeah, like it just wasn't very interesting like tribally to build something. Where now you're like, okay, Mardu tokens is actually kind of a cool mechanic. I actually think that would be like an interesting thing because I was watching people.
You don't see a lot of Mardu tokens.
Yeah, so the main thing too was a lot of the mechanics for that strategy for that deck is they used the similar one they used for Warhammer 40K, where they had the thing where like it had squad. So the squad mechanic's back, which is cool. So squad, essentially you can pay mana into something to make copies of it.
Okay.
So now you get the card's original effect, but then you also can get 2 or 3 tokens if you have extra mana laying around. And so it's like, great. So now I can just sack a token to get the effect that I want in order to like play out the deck, but I also get like a regular card.
Yeah.
And can beat people in the face with humans.
Well, it's funny because you've talked about it. It kind of leads into our next topic of you said Lord of the Rings, you said 40K, you said Fallout. What was the other one you just said? Another like thematic, Doctor Who.
Yep.
You know, like so we're almost getting around now to seeing like all these different styles of like themes, like thematic play. Like how do you feel about all these different thematic plays?
Okay, so here's my thoughts. And I know it's going to be it's kind of two-faced because I play the decks and take advantage of the cards.
Yeah.
But I hate them. Okay. I think Lord of the Rings was fine. I was fine with Lord of the Rings.
Thematically, it fits with Magic the Gathering.
I was fine with it. I was fine with the D&D set. Because Baldur's Gate made sense. I wish it would have been released with the actual video game because then it would have probably gotten so much bigger of a hype.
It would have been.
Which was when it was originally supposed to be released together. But the video game had so many drawbacks. Not complaining about it, as we talked about in the previous episode. Love that game. Actually glad that they took the time to fix the game and didn't release a half-ass game. But I'll digress.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, when you look at those characters, like, you see, like, Shadowheart, you see, like, all their face cards. They have all the face cards as partners. Mm-hmm. So that was cool. Transformers was a weird one.
Yeah, that one was kind of weird. Same as the Street Fighter one. That was just kind of random.
Street Fighter was
a secret lair.
Was a secret lair. I was fine with the secret lair one. I was fine with the Stranger as secret layers. I was fine with them because they weren't like a part of a main set.
When just alternate art.
Yeah. Like the Transformers ones were the first ones that came out after the King Kong set. Because the King Kong set was really the set. Godzilla, yeah.
Like King Kong, I missed that one.
So the Godzilla set was the first set that I think really like dove into this world, right? Mm-hmm. Godzilla to me made the most sense.
Godzilla was awesome.
Yeah, like okay, like Mecha Godzilla was a little weird, but like my biggest thing was they basically just like made alternate art versions of cards, right? Like
which I'm okay with.
Yeah,
like, it's like cool. This is fun. Like one of the guys I play with, he built like an Army of Darkness / the Evil Dead set.
Yeah.
Because they had some of the Secret Lair cards come
I actually
out.
saw him yesterday.
Oh, really?
Or Wednesday on when we played Magic. He came by and talked to us.
And that's a super awesome deck. Like, thematically looking at it, like, is it 100% optimized? No. Is it good? Yes, it's still good.
Yeah.
Now, the only downside I would say to the entire deck is none of the cards say Boomstick, and I'm a little upset about that, but hey, here's your chance to fix that one, Wizards.
So, okay, so here's my thoughts, right? I think that they were fine when we were doing it as Secret Layers or like as like extra face cards, right? Mm-hmm. Was completely okay with that. When they now that they've changed it to like full sets of cards, like we're about to get Assassin's Creed coming out soon, I actually hate it. And the reason I hate it is because I don't like the fact that Magic the Gathering, which has its own lore and its own world building and its own characters, is pulling away from those for these Commander sets. I understand why Wizards is doing it. Wizards and Hasbro, they're a gaming company. Hasbro is a toy company first. The reason why we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as kids wasn't because they were like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are cool. They're like, because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles make us toys and we want to sell them.
Cool.
They are cool.
I still think they're cool.
I still think they're cool.
Fight anyone over that one.
No, but I'm just saying, we didn't get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers as kids because they were like, yes, we want to give them this show. Mm-hmm. They wanted to sell toys and they created a product in order to do so. Mm-hmm. I think that because Magic has gotten so popular in the past like 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Especially with like people like Post Malone and like a lot of famous people coming forward as playing it. Like before, like when Magic first started, Magic was just a game that you played to pass time in between rounds in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So when you were like, because in D&D first and second edition, a lot of the game mechanics were focused towards puzzles. And so combat was kind of an afterthought, and combat was really, really crunchy.
Yeah.
And because of that, it took a long time to get through combat. So a lot of people would just play like Magic to like bypass rounds of like when someone else was doing their turn in order to get through their crunchy pieces.
5e though, don't do that. Respect the person and their time.
I mean, in general, you probably shouldn't do that anymore. Like it probably like they just wanted to sell stuff. But regardless, like because the game has evolved to a point where like Commander is so big. And as someone who like has been playing Commander for a decade, it's changed so much in the past decade. I remember when I like started off, I was like a little Krenko player, and I was
such a red player.
That's what so I started off as a red player. You knew that about. Oh, look at
I know.
Look at my decks, dude. Look when I started Magic, the two decks that I started playing. I played. My buddy asked me, he's like, hey, why do you want to? He's like, with Magic, let's relate it back to you being a kid and playing Yu-Gi-Oh! What did you play in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was like, I played, so there's this card called Winged Karibo. And a Winged Karibo is this little fluff ball that has like 300 points, super weak, and it's like very, very unintimidating. And I built this deck to like basically like pump that guy up to make him super strong. So like the idea was like to beat you with the weakest thing possible. That was my whole goal. Knowing that now, like relating that information, my buddy might have given me the wrong information. He should have told me to play Voltron instead.
Oh, 100%.
But regardless, he said that I should start off with goblins. And so I started playing with goblins because that was how I got into Magic. So I started playing like before I played Magic, like kind of, but like that's how I got into like the 60 card format. So I built a 60 card format goblins deck. The other reason I played goblins was because goblins are cheap.
Yeah.
So for like $50, I bought my modern goblin deck to have, like it was 8-whack, which at the time, which like was one of the meta decks. It was like a tier 1 meta deck, but it was relatively cheap. So I bought that. And then everybody was starting to play Commander. Commander became like a thing. It was a thing in the beginning where the Commander was like this thing that you do at the end of the night. After everybody's played Modern, you're like, all right, hey, let's all get together. Let's like drink beer. Let's throw together 100 cards, slide them on the table, and then just flip cards and just kind of BS. It wasn't something anybody took seriously.
And now it's like the most popular format by a landslide.
Exactly. And so it's crazy to see like where like because I built so I just took my Modern deck because I didn't own a lot of Magic cards at the time. and I had Krenko in it, my 8-whack deck. So I was just like, hey, Krenko's a legendary creature. And then I slapped 65 Gobboys in there and like 40 lands because I didn't understand land placement at the time. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I used to win a lot of games of Magic with Krenko because then Perforos came out eventually. And Perforos...
You know you're so bad at math, by the way.
Yeah.
65 plus 40 is 105. Just so you're aware there, sir. That's why you won. You were cheating.
I couldn't get bailed out. No, actually, no, it was like 60-40, but regardless.
Yeah. I'm just busting your chops.
Oh, I don't know. Thank you for catching it. So someone on the internet still like, oh, actually, because listen, there's a reason I was an English major.
Yeah. Justin doesn't math.
No, I don't math. That's my problem. Okay. So regardless, so going back to like the modern sets of Commander, right? When I look at these 4 different very, very powerful commanders, arguably one of the most powerful commander deck sets to come out in recent years. Like I would say that this and this is the problem, right? The 3 strongest like commander deck sets that have come out recently have been 2 of which I think have come out as these like Doctor Who and Fallout sets. Like 2 of the 3 strongest sets. The last one is the Commander Legends set. I think had some of the strongest commanders in it.
Yeah, they keep changing it. And I think the reason why they keep adding these like super busted commanders is because, I don't know, like me and you have talked about it, of we're tired of seeing the same commanders being built because people want to win and they want to build a deck that's easily optimized around a commander. And some of these guys are like the Swiss Army knives of commanders. They just work with like 3 different styles and nobody's really building like unique commanders anymore.
Yeah, like, which is crazy because every set you get like you're getting between like 30 and probably like 40 legendary creatures. Like, and a lot of them are uncommon and they're kind of like
good, but not great.
They're worse versions of cards that are already kind of out there.
Exactly.
Is how I would describe them.
Like good, not great.
Yeah. But on the flip side, sometimes you get these really, really busted like commander sets. These commander sets that have come out recently where they're like these bundle sets. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, the teams that are building them are like optimizing to create the strongest pieces they can. Like the Master like set from Doctor Who, that deck is disgustingly strong.
Out the gate.
Yeah, like you literally out the box, you could play it against like most people and in like a random pod. And you might not win every game, but you're going to win at least 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Which is still crazy.
Because I think the most busted commander set I've ever bought, because I didn't get into Commander till a little bit later. I kind of fell out of Magic for a few years. Like I got an Oloro deck and then I fell out of Magic again because I was in the military moving. Didn't have anyone to play with.
And then he came to Ohio. He walked into a random game store and he talked to some random dude. And then that dude walked him through how to build his Magic deck. And that was how Cody got his first Magic deck. Oh, hey, it was me, random guy.
Yep, 100%. But the most busted out of the box deck in recent years that I bought was the Abomination of Llanowar.
Which one was that one?
The Golgari Elf deck.
Oh, yeah. So
out the box, I literally sleeved it up, said, hey, let's play. And they're like, you're not going to do any mods? I'm like, no, I want to see like how it sits. And I won.
Yeah, so I will say though, so the thing is like I think there's always one deck of the 4 that's usually pretty good, like way better than the rest, right? Yeah. Like because with the Golgari Elf deck, you also got like the Naya like lands deck.
Yep.
The big booty.
Yep.
Lands deck, and then and like between like those ones, like obviously Elves is stronger.
Yep. Elves is so easy though.
Yeah, like. The Commander one, like the Commander set, the reason why I specified those 3 is because I think like 2 or 3 of the decks are out of the box crazy decks. Mm-hmm. Like the Eldrazi deck, or not the Eldrazi. The
Eldrazi deck was still good, but it wasn't as good as the...
I'm thinking of Slivers. Sorry, Slivers out of the box.
Oh.
Yeah, so Slivers in general are gross. But like literally like out of the box Slivers was disgusting.
It was a soft 7 out of the box, and you make 3 modifications in it, and it goes to like a soft 9.
You just changed
power level.
You just changed the commander.
Yeah.
You changed the commander to play like
the first
sliver, or you could play Sliver Legion, or like any of like literally just change the commander and then boom, you win, right?
Yep.
But
I blame Troy.
I actually think that that's the reason why in modern, like the new Modern Masters set, they're supposed to give us another Eldrazi deck. Mm-hmm. I think it's because they realized that everyone hated that Eldrazi deck. Deck. So that was like
Eldrazi are such awesome, like OP creatures that are difficult to cast, but if they stick, you're going to be wrecking house. Yeah. And that's why people love playing them. Like, I think they're a super fun card.
Yeah. So, like, of that set, I think the Knights one was fine. Oh, no, that didn't come in that one. That was the Dragons, the Ur-Dragon, the 5-color one, the 5-color Joda, or Jared, or whatever. The one that Shazan plays.
Joda. No,
Jared. Yeah.
Jared.
So 5-color Jared was really gross. Planeswalkers, because and then the other one, the Legendaries one, the
Sisay.
No, Mardu Legendaries, the one that is a Planeswalker too. Dinarda, starts with a D.
Daretti.
No,
Daretti's.
Anyways,
yeah,
There's
so many sets that come out. We're trying to remember which one was.
So like because of that set, I think the Doctor Who set, the Master, and I think what was the other one that was super crazy? The Timey-Wimey one, which was like the one where you got to do the exile stuff. Yeah. Like those two decks were insane. I think for this set, the scariest decks based off of like looks, I have seen the in two different playthroughs of people playing through, and again, this might just be biased based off this. I think the Mothman deck is probably one of the top contenders, and then I think the Mardu one actually seemed really strong. And the reason why I say that is because the energy one, it seems like you really need to like kind of pop off, but once you get there, it's like every other Jeskai deck. You really need to like get your pieces in order.
You're a slow start, but man, if you get going, it's like a Narset.
Yeah.
Narset typically very slow to start, unless you just get lucky and you hit like, your mana rocks and you ramp out real quick. Then all of a sudden you're hitting extra turns and everything else like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, because the deck relies so heavily on energy. You get energy when an artifact comes into play. I think like if you're looking at like how do you like out in the box, I think the decks that are the strongest are the Mothman and then probably the Mardu one. I think outside the box, the strongest deck is going to be the Jeskai one.
Yeah.
Because Jeskai will turn into Cheerios real fast.
Yep.
Because now we have a new Cheerio mechanic, and then you only need 3 energy, so 3 artifacts to draw the card.
Yep. You're going to be dropping all your free mana rocks and everything like that.
And then you're going to bounce
value.
And then you're going to bounce it back to hand, and it's going to become infinite energy. And then that's the reason why I would like. That's the I think of the 4 face commanders. That's the card that's going to end up being like the next CDH staple.
Yep. And I won't be surprised if it gets hit with the ban hammer because of how effective it is. Because, and I'm still happy about this, I don't care if you're not, Golos being banned.
So my thing was I didn't play Golos the way other people play Golos though. My Golos was I wanted a Maze's End deck, and it was the only way to play Maze's End.
That's fair. But guess what? I hated playing against Golos decks because everybody and their brother had a Golos deck, and it was just like, I don't know. For me, it was a cop-out. It was too easy to build and to optimize because 5 colors, don't get me wrong, 5 colors is difficult to build, but it's also easy to build at the same time because you can literally pick all the best staples of all those different cards and those colors, and then all you have to do is throw a couple unique pieces of your flair in there, and you have yourself a great Wooburg deck.
See, I don't know, though. I don't know. Here's my opinion, right? I think that Commander is an interesting game because while I think Golos was strong, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was strong. It was a strong deck. And while, yes, in casual, it's like it shouldn't be played.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like you shouldn't play Urza or like Najila or like any of the tier 1 commanders in casual. So my thought is, and the thing is that Golos wasn't good enough to be in like a CDH staple.
Correct.
It was only good enough to be a like high power casual deck.
Yeah.
So it didn't meet the barrier. If it would have like pushed into the barrier, they would have left it alone because then everyone would just be like, well, that's a CDH commander.
Yeah.
But because it was like in that weird space where it wasn't strong enough to be a CDH commander, but it was still really strong. It's kind of like Yarok. Like Yarok is like, there's like a, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he teeters.
Yeah, like there's decks that are just like, okay, you're like, if I see your commander, or like, for example, like for me, like Ishai. If I see Ishai as your commander, I just assume I have to kill you first. And for those at home who don't know what Ishai does, Ishai is a card that says whenever any opponent casts a spell, it gets bigger. In CDH, it's a good card. People cast a lot of spells. But on the flip side, it doesn't have haste. It has flying, so it does have some sort of evasion. It needs to attack. CDH, you're going to have a removal to bounce it back to hand, do whatever you need to do. Not that great. In casual, where people don't run removal as heavily, it just wipes tables.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't have ways to answer flying.
Flying is a underrated mechanic.
It's not underrated. It's
like people like forget about it. Like they build decks and they go, "Oh, I don't have reach or flying. Crap. This dude that's playing Thopters or birds just walked all over me."
Yeah, but sometimes that's what those decks need in order to win, because they're usually killing you by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah. But
when you play Ishai, I'm killing you with Commander. I'm playing a Voltron deck with a Flyer, the bird. But, I think when it comes to Magic, when it comes to power creeps, when it comes to the ideologies of what makes Commander good, what makes it interesting, I think regardless of what our takes are on these new decks, they got us talking.
Yeah, and if you're having fun with it, that's all that matters. Like we're big thematic people. Like we want stuff to make sense on the storyline. We don't need to be jumping ahead to different arcs that aren't related to the magical realm.
Like Thunder Junction, I'm really excited about a gunslinger world. For Magic, I'm also really, really excited about the one that looks like it's going to be a bunch of animals, because it's like based off of like one of my favorite children's book series where they were just a bunch of cute animals fighting in this massive war. Hey, we might have to talk about it sometime.
We definitely can.
But regardless, I think like because I like what Magic, like what they do with those pieces, I would much rather see and more interesting, like rather than using Fallout as like a cop out, I wish Wizards would just use their own IPs.
Yeah.
And stop trying to sell us like on the idea of like, oh, this is a Fallout deck for Magic.
Yeah.
Because it takes away the flair of and the lore of that world.
Like I feel weird on the table seeing like an elf, he plays an elf, she plays a dragon, and then this dude comes over here with a guy in a mech suit with a VAT system. Like, that doesn't really fit.
Yeah, like we're all planeswalkers, but you're just literally like a dude in a mech suit, and then I pull out my transformer. And then
Optimus Prime slaps down.
Yeah, and then you play Spider-Man, and like what Magic stops being Magic and starts becoming a thing that you can buy and sell as a idea for like, oh, I just want a Spider-Man card. I get it, Hasbro, you got to make money.
Yeah.
Pay your people.
And people are happy with it, and other people, I'll still play it. I won't be like, hey, you can't keep that crap here,
Yeah, like I said, I'm not dissing on it because the cards are cool. I think the people behind it put a lot of care and love into these cards, and they all the cards themselves are very thematic. They follow the themes of what I think the original creators wanted, and they fall in line with the original lore of the content. So, bravo teams for the ones who created it. But I do think at the end of the day, Magic is Magic, and I just want to see it. So. That's where we're gonna conclude this episode. We'll see you guys next time. We're probably gonna talk about a new topic next time. So
we'll have something new and exciting.
Get ready for next week.